Yeah, hi. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Go on.
Perfect. So let me give you my background. I grew up in a small village called Satara, in
Okay.
Maharashtra, and later
I
on I
think
moved.
you're not in Satara right now, right?
Now I'm in Denmark right now. Actually, I'm
Okay.
attending a hackathon, and I got
Okay.
some time because we scheduled it right. So,
Hmm.
regarding my background, I'm an atheist and have been since last 17 years, I would say, because I'm
Okay.
32 right now. And since 15, I've been reading a lot of science. I'm sorry
Okay.
if you're hearing music, but I would be loud.
I'm not really. I'm not really. So the
Okay,
software we are using, it cancels out a lot of background noise.
perfect. So, yeah, I'm really into science, to be honest, and I've been
Okay.
reading books by Professor Hawking or Dr. Tyson or even good atheists like Sam
Hmm.
Harris,
Hmm.
Christopher Hitchens, Richard Dawkins, and I do get their criticism of religion, and I do,
Hmm.
agree with them on a lot of points.
Hmm.
However, when it comes to consciousness, we definitely need to uh, dig more deep into what it is because it's pretty vague and it's not really scientifically described so far. But there are definitely more efforts going on, especially at MIT
Hmm.
nowadays. So I just wanted to present to you the the way we do science, um, right? So I'll give you analogies in three ways, three steps. Let's say one simple, one a little bit more complex, and one the most complex.
Saurabh, before you
Yeah,
proceed, let me just ask you this one thing.
yeah.
The frame of this conversation is atheism, right?
Hmm.
So
Okay.
what does consciousness have to do with religion or God or atheism?
Yeah, I can explain.
Hmm.
So traditional Judeo-Christian view of God is something, some like a person or some entity, you know,
Okay.
and that's really not the case with Eastern religious. Let's not say religious, but idea of God. So
Okay.
we have theory of panpsychism, which is
Hmm.
kind of not accepted by science really, but
Hmm.
I want to present to you the comparison. So the way we do science and the way we accept certain ideas in science, but we do not accept the similar ideas by same logic when it comes to consciousness. So first simple explanation would be ocean and water, ocean and ocean waves, right? So
Hmm.
ocean is made of water, and we have a phenomenon called waves on the surface of ocean. Okay,
Hmm.
so wherever we have water, there is only possibility of having waves where there is water, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So right now I don't see waves here, water waves, because there is no water. So water is a substrate upon which there are waves, a phenomenon called waves, right?
Hmm.
So this similar concept is used in the uh, concept of electromagnetism. So I'm an electrical engineer, by the way, so I
Hmm.
understand fields and I use them with mathematics, rigorous mathematics. So
Hmm.
what I want to say, see, there is a concept called electromagnetic fields, which is a
Hmm.
classical concept, or even not a quantum concept, but a classical
Yeah.
field theory. And I'll ask you a question. So we have a substrate called electromagnetic field. So what happens when the field vibrates?
So here's the thing. You are using waves and water as an analogy, right? That's not an explanation.
I'll go forward. I'm just
And
complexifying the.
also, like, waves and water are things that can be measured.
Yeah,
So can the fields that you're talking about. So unless there is some kind of, they can't be.
I'll tell you.
My
The
my
way.
point is my
Yeah.
point is I'm okay with analogies. I'm
Hmm.
okay with saying ki something could be like this, but that's not to say something is like that. And in order for that to happen, we will need more evidence.
No, okay, yeah, I'll get there because I want to
Okay.
frame the way
Okay.
we
Go on. Go on.
Yeah. So when the field vibrates, what we have is waves, which is also electromagnetic waves, right? So electromagnetic waves, example of them is all the entire electromagnetic spectrum, whether it be X-rays or visible light or
Hmm.
radio waves or gamma rays. So
Hmm.
it's nothing but vibration of electromagnetic field.
Okay.
But in order to have gamma rays or photons or radio waves, you have to have the field in order for it to vibrate. Same with the
Yeah.
ocean, you need to have water in order to have waves. Similar with light, you have to have field in order for it to manifest as a photon or gamma rays. So you need this substrate, right? Uh, uh, for you to detect a photon, for example. So to complexify the matter, when they detect a new particle, for example, say they were trying to, uh, like 10 years ago, they're trying to detect Higgs boson, this
Hmm.
particle. Now, that is according to complex theory of reality, which is quantum field theory, and
Hmm.
we just talk about field, electromagnetic field, but the concept is similar. So, in order to basically have a particle, you need a field which vibrates similar to electromagnetic field. So
Okay.
they just extended this classical field idea to quantum field. So basically, the scientific view is the electromagnetic field exists, which is all pervading, and it
Hmm.
vibrates at various locations, and it manifests as photons.
Okay.
Similarly, with electrons, the theory is they have all pervading electron field,
Hmm.
and in a local level, when the field vibrates, it is manifested as electron, as a particle, you know.
Hmm.
So for all the particles which are fundamental particles like quarks or gluons or all these particles they have found, there is an associated all pervading field, okay,
Okay.
whether it
Got
be
it.
bosons or everything.
Got it.
So now, when we're talking about evidence, when they found Higgs boson in CERN particle accelerator,
Hmm.
that wasn't just the evidence for Higgs boson, the particle. That was the evidence for the Higgs field itself, which
Okay.
exists, which is
Got it.
all pervading, right? So this is how they prove the existence of the field, right?
Okay.
By observing the particle, because
Hmm.
it's according to quantum field theory. Now, we were thinking about, we need evidence for consciousness, all pervading consciousness, which is panpsychism
No,
theory.
we don't need. So the kind of consciousness that is described by something like panpsychism, we will
Yeah,
probably need evidence for it. But we already
yeah,
know that consciousness exists, and
yeah,
to the
yeah.
best of my knowledge, right now consciousness seems to be something that does not exist outside of conscious brains.
Now, okay, so this is where I have a problem with
Yeah,
interpretation.
so I understand. That's why I brought the problem into focus so that
Yeah,
we can actually
yeah.
talk about it.
So when say you are a scientist, right now, and you observe a
I'm not a
special particle.
scientist.
Say
Yeah.
you are a physicist in a lab, and you observe a special particle which was not observed before.
Hmm.
So by with the help of quantum field logic, you
Hmm.
say your particle is Vimoh, let's say, right?
Hmm.
Then since you observed that particle, you say it's not only the particle that exists, we have found a new field which is all pervading, right?
Okay.
That would be the logic.
So in terms of consciousness, what is the particle analog?
Yeah, so in terms of consciousness, you just need a conscious entity to extrapolate into saying
But
that,
aren't
oh,
you aren't you aren't you kind of force fitting the logic of a particle and a field onto consciousness?
yeah,
Because we don't. What is the commonality between a particle being found and
mm,
consciousness itself? Because if
Yeah.
panpsychism is true, you are kind of presupposing that consciousness as the field exists. What is the
No,
particle here?
I'm not presupposing. I'm actually extrapolating from the evidence of particle. They extrapolate that there is a
So
field, right?
what is the analog of the particle here?
A conscious being like us,
A being is not a particle.
but we are conscious, right?
We are conscious, and
Yeah,
I like, you know, I don't. What I'm missing here is the bridge that you're building from. I can understand where you came from when you said particle corresponding field,
yeah.
but I don't see a commonality between a particle and a conscious being.
Why
How
not?
is that being established? It seems to be an analogy at best, right?
Okay, yeah,
What is the
yeah.
reason for what is the reason for thinking that a conscious being should be treated the way a particle is treated?
Because that's how we treat everything else in physics or on in reality.
Seems like a
Everything.
bit of a stretch. Seems like a
No,
bit
no.
of a stretch,
Yeah.
honestly.
Tell me what exists. Okay, at the fundamental level, what exists? All the fundamental particles are uh, extrapolated into quantum fields. Everything that exists is a field, and now field does not exist. Okay, we
Is
can say,
there? Tell me
yeah,
this. Uh, is there a sadness field?
no, but it's part
Why
of
not? Why not?
conscious.
If I say that sadness is a particle, can I not extrapolate that a sadness field exists?
No,
It's
because
just saying. It's just making a bold claim. No, there is no actual evidence to say that when we say a conscious being exists, we can treat that statement the same way as we treat the statement that a quark exists, or whatever else exists. So what
yeah.
is the reason you are saying that a conscious being should be treated like a particle in this
Uh,
hypothesis of yours?
because that's how we treat everything else. Uh,
No, we don't. I just
in
told you, we
in
don't
the,
think, we don't assume that there is a sadness field just because sadness
yeah, but
exists.
because it's super vague. Sadness, the idea is it's the linguistic thing you are doing, right? But consciousness exists because we are conscious, right? It's not something vague because it exists, right? And
Does capitalism exist?
that is this is linguistic
No, no, Saurabh,
comparison
listen,
you're
you
doing.
are right to
Yeah,
say that I am engaging in linguistic tricks. I'm
yeah.
trying to establish that what you are doing is no different. It's just an analogy.
I can approach this in another way. So
Go on.
when regarding the source of some something, okay. So I'll just jump to the complex example because we may not have a lot of time.
Hmm.
So there's there's some particle called neutrinos, and that is they are emitted by the sun or any stars.
Saurabh,
And
jump to the end of it because it seems like it's the same analogy all over again.
no, no, it's not. It's not. So
It's
uh,
not?
it's not. So
Okay.
if we wanted to detect neutrinos, we have to build special complex detectors, and we have to
Okay.
keep them in ice in South Pole so that we remove all the other interference, and we have to make sure that the source of neutrinos is actually coming from outside, not from the vicinity. Okay, from no, or from the detector itself, right?
Could you repeat that last part?
We have to make sure that the
Hmm.
source of the neutrino is actually coming from outside the earth and
Hmm.
not from the vicinity or itself from the detector itself, right? So we have to first make sure that what we are detecting is not in the detector itself, right? The
Okay.
emergent. So
Hmm.
now consciousness, we can have two sources. One is emergent, which is from the bodies, and one
Hmm.
could be from outside. So point is, when scientists try to detect something, some phenomenon like neutrinos, they
Hmm.
first eliminate the possibility that it's really not coming from inside or the vicinity. Then they jump to the conclusion that, oh, it's probably outside. The same thing happened with X-rays as well with William Röntgen. We had to do it in a dark room. This experiment of X-rays.
I've
So
heard
he
of it, yes.
cut out all the all the possible sources from outside.
Hmm.
So having eliminated that, we can jump to the conclusion that, oh, it's really, the phenomenon is really coming from inside.
Is
So
there any way to is there any way to eliminate our own consciousness in our assessment of consciousness as a field, so called?
I don't know, but have we eliminated that?
No,
That's
no.
my
I'm saying, listen. All of these things that you described, they can
yeah.
be verified objectively, right? The fields, etc.
Fields can only be
As
verified
in, you can
by,
observe them. You can observe them. You can
as
share
a,
your observations
as
with me, and I can do the same experiments. I can verify them.
yes, as a
Is there any
manifestation.
way to do that
Yeah,
to this consciousness field you're talking about?
but that's the thing, right? So we are conscious beings and we are
Hmm.
experiencing that. So
Hmm.
we can extrapolate it like we do to particles, like, oh,
But
we are,
that's not very strong. All I'm trying to point out is that it may very well be the case that panpsychism is true, right?
yeah. So it
But
has
but
it is a scientific argument to make, right,
it
based
is
on the
it
other.
it let me put it this way.
Yeah.
It is an argument that has been made by some people, and some of those people are scientists.
Mm,
There is a channel called Joe Scott. Have you heard of him?
yeah.
Yeah, he's a YouTuber. He recently made a video about panpsychism, and even his conclusion was that this is bordering on woo woo territory, right? It's been called woo woo for quite some time. Deepak Chopra is a proponent of it. There are plenty of Hindu seeming people, spiritual minded people who kind of sort
Sure.
of subscribe to it. All I'm
Sure.
saying is that it is standing on incredibly weak feet right now, and
No,
I
no, no.
don't even know what strong feet are going to look like,
Yeah,
because
no.
because because
The
even
reason is,
listen,
yeah.
even you,
Mm.
who is a subscriber of this, I presume, right?
No, no, I'm not. I'm just open
You
to
are
the,
open to it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, even I'm open to it, but I'm open to evidence, not just possibilities. A lot of things may be possible, but unless there is evidence of the variety that you will want for something like a quark or a field that you went into in some great detail, I don't think I can take this seriously.
But Vimoh, I just describe to you what evidence is.
Hmm.
So if you want an evidence of a Higgs field, you
Hmm.
detect a particle and you extrapolate it, saying that, oh, I saw a Higgs boson, so Higgs field exists, which is all pervading. That's the conclusion of the quantum
No, no, no,
theory.
no, 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 no.
That
It's
is,
not.
that is,
It
it is.
is. It is more like, listen. It is more like, I saw a Higgs. These are my observations. This is the data. Please feel free to check it. You do the same experiment, and someone else does it, and they come to the same conclusion. So we come to the conclusion that this particle and this field is verifiable. I don't see how you can do that with consciousness.
The reason is because you think it has to be material evidence, right? It has to be material.
Saurabh,
This
all the
phenomenon.
examples you have given to me as
Yeah.
analogies are
Mm.
material examples.
But fields are not material.
They can be verified, no? They can be detected.
The vibrations can be detected, which
That
are
makes them
manifested
material.
as material.
That makes them
Vibrations,
material.
vibrations, but the fields are all pervading.
Can you give me an example of a vibration created by consciousness?
We can say that our cells are vibrations created
That
in
would
a
be an
conscious.
analogy. That would not be you're basically looking at our actions and you're interpreting them in a fairly poetic manner to be vibrations that can be analogous to the vibrations created by these fields that you just described.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's just comparing two things on a linguistic level. It is not the same thing, is it? And there is no way to know how they can be the same thing.
Okay. So can I ask you the last question? Like,
Huh,
can
make
you
this your last
describe?
point. I have to move on to someone
Yeah, I
else.
will. I will. So can you give me your standard of acceptance for consciousness, of
That's
evidence
the
of
thing. I
consciousness?
can't. I know that consciousness is a word we use to describe a certain condition through which you and I are both going through. You're conscious, I'm conscious. I know that it exists on that level. Beyond that, whatever else you're describing consciousness to be this all-pervading thing, panpsychism, I don't even understand how there can be evidence of it.
Uh,
I don't understand what your reason behind believing in it or
so
being
if
open to it is.
so, I think what you and I should do is we have to set a standard for what evidence of consciousness constitute of, because we we will demand
Do
evidence.
you have a standard? Do you have a
Do you
standard?
have a standard? Then if I
No, I
don't or
don't.
you don't,
I'm telling you, I don't have a standard,
then
and I don't even know what the standard can be. You're obviously a
so
scientific-minded
so
person. The
you
best
did,
thing you can do, the
yeah.
best thing you can do right now is come up with a standard,
I
because
mean
right now it's all
that
analogies all the way.
that's a standard I can have, scientific standard which is based on scientific process, right?
And you
So I
have
have to
not
look at,
you have not given me any scientific basis for thinking that consciousness is. All you have given me is analogies.
so
This
that is
particle has that field. If we assume consciousness is a particle, then there must be a
no.
consciousness field.
Uh,
That's a whole lot of assumptions.
I mean, we do this. This is a scientific argument, I think, to
I
extend to
don't think
because
it is
we do.
scientific and because I can use the same thing to to hypothesize that there is a sadness field.
Yeah. Hello.
I can
Sorry,
use
can you
your
repeat?
argument. Can you hear me now?
Hmm? Yeah, yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Yeah, I can. I
The
can.
method that you used can be used by anyone to claim that any kind of field exists. Anything.
Okay.
If I assume that sadness is a particle, there is a sadness field.
But
If I assume that,
sadness is a
hmm,
part of consciousness, right? Conscious experience. So that's
yeah, true, but
yeah.
just replace it with something else. It really
Like
doesn't
what?
take much imagination.
But like
Anything.
what?
Capitalism. If capitalism exists and there are capitalistic individuals going around, then is there a capitalism field in nature?
So capitalism exists as in what form? So it is also a part of consciousness, you can say, because we
Capitalism is a product of consciousness,
yeah,
is a product of consciousness,
yeah, yeah.
but it is not consciousness, is it?
But it's a part of it, right?
So we can just replace it with anything, man. It's the same analogy. It keeps going on and on and on.
So that's the problem. So you can replace it with anything. So, but
Is
that
there is
anything,
there okay, okay,
yeah,
let's go out of
yeah,
consciousness. This is a nail clipper.
yeah.
Is there a nail clipper field out
No,
there somewhere?
it's made of material which we have already categorized into fundamental particles, and they all exist as fields.
What if I said that this nail clipper is a particle
Mm.
and therefore there must exist in nature a nail clipper field which cannot be detected right now, but it exists because you've heard of the work of people like Rupert Sheldrake, right?
No, no, I haven't.
So Rupert Sheldrake is also someone who frequently gets described as a woo scientist. I think you like him. Read up his work. It's called morphic resonance, I think.
All
He
right.
says that for every form that exists in nature,
Mm.
there is a field or some kind of, he says that every form is like pouring water into a jar. What you pour water into a jar, the water takes the form of a jar, right? He says there are invisible frames out there in nature for every form.
That's
And
Platonic,
his
Plato, basically.
kind of, yeah, kind of, but he kind of brings more to it, which I've frankly forgotten because I read his book a number of years ago when
Mm.
I myself was into this shit.
Mm.
But feel free to go on and try to bring in, try to create a standard of evidence that we can all use to probably try to make more sense of consciousness. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Saurabh. Thank you for joining, and it was a very interesting conversation. Bye bye.
Yeah. See you. Bye.